welcome to our presentations. We are Group 3 and we also present about the topic 3. Should the government increase the government spending to boost the economy out of the COVID-19 pandemic? With our team members.
So now I will talk about the effect of COVID-19 pandemic. So the coronavirus disease, as we all call COVID-19 pandemic, is believed to be the primary cause which make both the national health crisis and the changing economic situation in the world in general and in Vietnam in particular. So this epidemic not only disrupted lives and forced the hospital structures to their power, but also created a global economic slowdown in different aspects such as global trade, exchange rate, labor force, energy market, financial markets, stock market, and environmental quality. So even though Vietnam's economy is still demonstrating indications of resistance to the epidemic, uh, and we all see that GDP in 2020 up to 2.91%, the effects of pandemics are too severe and a new wave of COVID-19 has begun encroaching. So the researchers stated that even if the Vietnam Index has recently displayed strong positive indicators by consistently establishing new peaks in June 2021, there is still a long way to go before it can survive the swings of the global market. And besides that, the government budgets were also disrupted since many countries were not prepared for the shock of the COVID-19 pandemic, which were illustrated in the underspending of the majority of economies around the world during 2020 to 2021. Next, I will talk about the government spending. So, according to CFI 2023, government spending is the money spent by the public sector on the acquisition of goods and provision of services such as education, healthcare, social protection, and defense. So it is addition classified as governmental final consumption spending when being used to satisfy individual or community needs, and it is also classified as an investment when it comes to goods and services for future use. And principally, two sources that are used to fund government spending are tax collections and government borrowing from its citizens or from other countries. So, furthermore, there are several purposes of government spending, such as to provide services and goods that are not offered by the private sector, such as military, roads, and bridges, to fund meritorious projects like hospital and educational institutions, and to provide social benefits like unemployment and disability insurance. And also, since improving labor productivity is essential, spending on education and training is an important part of the spending process. And some industries are also have obstacles during the procedure. Therefore, expenditures from the government are needed as support for either their operation or expansion.
Moving to the advantage, I can tell that there are many benefits to increase the government spending through the COVID-19 pandemic. Many people that time were unemployed and cannot handle their life, especially the turn. So, if the government increase spending, it may have these workers reserve through the crisis and keep the factor that enrich the country. What is more, by creating job opportunity and providing support to these workers, government spending can reduce unemployment rate for the country. Next, government should invest more money in appealing support from our nation. As a result, they can build stronger ties with one another and increase mutual trust and understanding. This may lead to some future chances like joint project and partnership and an increase in trade and investment. Lastly, reduced value-added tax can significantly have the impact on the economy. While the reduction in VAT seems small, it can help shopper happy, and as it means it can save money on the purchase. Even a tens or a hundred Vietnam dong per bill can add up over to a course of the month, providing people with more money to spend on other things. By reducing the cost of goods and service for consumer and business, it can stimulate demand, encourage investment, and promote economic activity.
So while increasing government spending can help stimulate economic growth, there are also some potential downsides. The COVID-19 pandemic has seriously affected all aspects of socio-economic activities, putting great pressure on the state budget balance. As a result, many economic activities have stalled or decreased, causing the budget revenue to be severely affected. Although fiscal policy has been loosened in time to support businesses, it still leaves many big problems. Increased government spending can help stimulate economic growth, but it can also lead to increased government debt and crowding out private investment. This can have long-term consequences for the economy, such as higher interest rate, inflation, and reduced economic growth. In Vietnam, the government has increased its spending significantly during the COVID-19 pandemic, leading to an increase in government debt and crowding out private investment in certain industries. In 2018, the Vietnamese government borrowing was estimated to be around 6.3% of GDP, which was relatively high compared to other countries in the region. The Vietnamese government has taken steps to reduce its reliance on borrowing out and increase revenue from taxes and other sources. But the potential of crowding out remains a concern. Government spending may not always be directed to be most efficient or productive use, and an increase in government spending can lead to higher price as demand for goods and services. Government spending can lead to higher price and inflation if the supply of goods and services do not keep up with the demand. This can reduce the purchasing power of consumers and reduce economic growth. Additionally, if the economy becomes dependent on government spending to maintain growth, it can become vulnerable to changes in government policy or economic conditions. To ensure long-term economic stability and growth, government spending should be used judiciously and in combination with other policies.
For the conclusions, we can summarize the key points presented in their study. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a significant impact on the global economy, and governments have responded by increasing spending to support economic recovery. However, this approach must be balanced with the considerations of potential drawbacks such as increased government debt and inefficient allocations of resources. And in the case of Vietnam, the government has increased spending to support the economy, but it is crucial to ensure that spending is directed towards efficient and productive uses. Additionally, the policy should be implemented to prevent crowding out private investment and excessive reliance on government spending. Ultimately, a balanced approach is necessary to support short-term economic recovery while promoting long-term growth and sustainability. Measures such as creating job opportunities, supporting unemployed workers, seeking assistance from other countries, and reducing taxes can be effective in achieving these goals. By using all available tools, government can work towards a stronger and more resilient economy post-pandemic. Okay, so here's our reference, and that is the end of our presentations. Thank you for your attention.